I remember the time, like years ago, back in high school, playing soccer, and there was a cheer that I remember in particular. There was someone. There were a lot of people on the team who were from France, and so there's one guy who's always say "Allons-y, allons-y." I think it translates into like let us go there, or as we would say today, let's go. Uh, that's kind of what it feels like today for me within Yang Gang, because I mean, really, holy cow, what's happened in the past week, right? The suspension of Andrew Yang from the suspension of his campaign, the losses, the disappointing losses in Iowa and New Hampshire, and there was a lot of feeling that was going on there. We all felt. What did you feel, right? I mean, there was disappointment, there was tears, there was disorientation, there was confusion, there was hurt, anger, frustration. There were all these things, and what did we do? We there was a lot of things still resting. There was talking with other Yang Gang. There was listening, and then for some people, just went right back into doing things. So that's where we were, and so what have we done? Well, I think all of us have sort of converged to uh, to from different directions, still voting Yang and Yanging the primary. And we all have come to it for different reasons, continuing to vote for Yang in the primary. Some of it is sometimes expression, solidarity, that sense of, hey, we put all this effort, and we still like Andrew Yang compared to some of these other people. And so, no, we're still going to commit to the primary. Or it might even be for the brokered convention coming in the National Democratic Convention. So there are different reasons that we've been doing that. But there's also been other things that have been going on too within Yang Gang. So whether that's basic income, whether that's some people are getting ready, like trying to think of what they can do in terms of analysis or training, or if and when Andrew runs again in 2024, there's focus on members of the UBI caucus, people who are running for Congress who are who support UBI, finding ways to prepare in the event that we can have delegates at the convention, like actually how that might work. And then there are other things too, like for example, like Sorority of Yang is basically in Nevada and actively like Yanging people, canvassing, early voting, getting people to vote for Yang, even though the campaign that is not really there. And then there are even people from Yang I've heard of, know of in Reno, Nevada, doing the same thing. Have been doing the same thing during the early voting days of Nevada, and there are also Yang Gang who went to Iowa, and then they met other Yang Gang, and now they're back home, and they're still talking to each other, figuring out what to do next. So all that is happening. And so I think I want to give you, like everyone today, this is like about an hour and a half or so before the Nevada debate. And so I have two sets of things so you need to think about as you go forward, as we all work together. Number one, I will say, is ride the wave. Now, there are certain patterns to this primary process that have always been the case. One of those things is the brokered convention. I first heard that the DNC, from someone who's at the DNC, that there were concerns about the DNC having a brokered convention this year, way back at least until last April of 2019. There were concerns about that, given the number of candidates, and some of you watching might have been in the room with me. Like there was a fundraiser for Andrew Yang in Los Angeles after his rally, where he said that yeah, the DNC is concerned about that. So this has always been the case for a while now, being concerned about the competition. That is going to be the case. So other things that are still going to be the same. The highly compressed nature of this primary season. It's like there's going to be the first four primaries in February, and then in March there's like 25 different contests. Like over half the states are going to go.
Nevada it's coming up Saturday at the final results. That's going to be very important. This is a very pivotal move in terms of perceptions, in terms of delegates, and even then there's uncertainty in terms of Andrew Yang within the next 1 to 5 weeks is going to be sharing even more about what his plans are. So based on what those plans are, is it running for mayor of New York? Is it or whatever it is? I mean, it's going to basically change how we look at things. And so what I mean by ride the wave is resist the impulse to want to just be settled. Like resist saying to yourself, well, let me just work on this and then everything will be settled until 2024. Don't do that, because there is going to be lots of pivotal change that's likely to happen. And so we got to ride the wave and go with the flow with any new thing that starts to manifest. So probably one of the biggest things associated with right now is the Bloomberg. Mayor Bloomberg is entered. So, and it is making an impact. And so I would encourage everyone to resist the temptation to fight it. Like resist what you see other people doing. Oh, he shouldn't be running. Just put that aside. He is running, and it's for real. Embrace the change and be ready to go with it, and appreciate that the real impact that Bloomberg is having. I mean, so in a way, the DNC was kind of trapped. I guess they could have not put him into the debates, but when someone is nationally polling like at something in the double digits, they're kind of in a bind, and they kind of had to put him in. So the real impact as well as the perceived impact. So in the debate that's about to happen tonight, that's why I'm talking about it, because who knows what's going to happen, right? I have no idea what's going to happen in this debate, but you can actually figure out some things that are going to happen with Bloomberg there. I mean, they're probably going to attack him, right? So I can mention one of three things. Either they're all going to go after him, possibly Elizabeth Warren, because she has really incentive to get back into this thing, and it may bite. And so he's on stage and it bites and it kind of hurts him really bad. Or he fights it off, status quo. And then the other thing, watch out for, because he has been preparing for this debate for a couple of weeks, even though he just got in on Wednesday, he might end up looking really strong. And so that could affect things too. So I would encourage everyone when it comes to Bloomberg, actually follow Andrew Yang's example. What would Andrew Yang say about Bloomberg entering the race, and what has he said? And look carefully at that. Basically, he basically said, just spending money alone is not going to do it for real. But beyond that, have you seen Andrew Yang say very much? No, you haven't. And so I think we should follow his example on this and not get too carried away with Bloomberg hostility or Bloomberg or shying away at his perceived strengths. Neither one. We're cool. We're riding the wave. So number two, the thing that we should do going forward is we should start making waves. So basically, as you've noticed, now that Andrew has suspended, it's changed things that he has suspended. All of a sudden, people who had reservations about him are now admitting that they like him. They admit that he is a great person. There's actually one acquaintance I have who used to actually make these barbs against Yang Gang and against Andrew Yang, and all of a sudden, even she, is saying, oh, wow, she's really excited about him being a CNN commentator. So people are admitting that they love Andrew Yang. There are people beyond just Yang Gang, Yang supporters, people who like him, and people who intend to who they like him, they respect him. And so basically what this means is we need to continue to make waves. All of us who have intended to vote for Andrew Yang or have already sent in our early voting, just continue to do that. Keep asking your friends, invite them to vote for Andrew Yang. And what's really kind of nice about this is we can make it fun now. We can make it fun. I mean, so remember one of Andrew Yang's policies about having election day be something a little bit more celebratory? Maybe we could reflect that. We can, let's make it fun. And one of the ways that we can make it fun, something simple to describe and that we can all do wherever we are, is I really would encourage all of us to consider maybe we should show up with our swag and other things at the polling places. That's something that Sorority of Yang has done in Las Vegas and Henderson, Nevada. It's like a lot of people are not necessarily clear on how they're going to vote when they go in anymore. Like there's a lot of uncertainty they have. And so Andrew Yang's on the ballot. He's already on the ballot, right? He's still there. That's legitimate. And so the fact that it's there, there will be some people, if with a little reminder prompting, that they can do that. So what I'm saying is, this is not in terms of making the best use of your time, trying to go to door everywhere in your town is not a good idea. I mean, it might make sense in certain cases, but generally that is not a good idea to do. But or at least if you want to make the best use of your time, definitely consider that final decision point. So if you can find, we can identify the precincts ahead of time, like wherever we live in the country, identify local precincts to us, or, get together with other gang and find certain strategic precincts where we can get the word out, like a final word or final notice, and just say, hey, yeah, Andrew Yang's on the ballot. He has some great stuff. And you can talk with them about what those things are and, vote for him. And I think them seeing us, people seeing us is how we can help make that wave of people. And part two, the other thing is there's really some unfinished business going on about from the campaign that we didn't do. I mean, in that sense, it's a good thing that the campaign is suspended, because now we can do the real thing. Like, really, we want people to vote for Yang for his ideas. So I mean, in some ways, I don't know, to me, maybe it's just me personally, it's a bit of a downer to focus so much on Andrew. It becomes like, oh, like every other politician, oh, what's this? What other office is he going to run for? I mean, really, the whole point of, at least my appeal with him, is that he's talking about some things that are very important for this country. The robots are coming. Automation's coming. Automation's cool. I like automation, but what it's going to do to our economy, and we need to act now. We need to make a difference now, and this system is still dragging their feet. I mean, it's a shame that the Democrats still have not just adopted these ideas. They have not done it yet. So it's really up to us to make a wave so that we can actually bring this about as best we can. And so there's unfinished business. A lot of this, by the end of March, and especially beginning on Super Tuesday, every southern state will be voting. Every southern state except for Louisiana, which is in, I think, early April. So there are plenty of places throughout the United States, rural America, that I think this freedom dividend will go over very well. So in the South, in the Midwest, and actually every state in the country, in the union, even including California, has a rural area where a freedom dividend would be important. We have about a number of U.S. territories like Puerto Rico that have delegates and will be voting. We have Democrats abroad, and so that we can engage, I think, through our own networks. And then further, follow the math, everyone. Over 40% of the Democratic primary voters are of color. So, and so I think what we have seen from Iowa and New Hampshire is a lot of the white voters in the Democratic Party, apparently, for the most part, they're comfortable with the choices they got. That the 4, 5, 6, 7 choices. And so making a final reach out to African Americans, to immigrants, there are a lot of different states that have Native Americans. Within your state, there's different compositions of ethnicities. It's up to us to do what the campaign couldn't do, which is reach and look in our communities to the various kinds of people, because we have a universal message that a lot of people like. And that will engage them, and it's really relevant to their lives. They see the malls closing, and they see the message. A lot of people, as you've noticed, when you try to Yang people, they've heard of Andrew Yang and they've heard the message. So really, it's time for us to take over from here. Ride the wave. appreciate the moment, right? Ride the wave means a lot is going to happen within the next 2 weeks. It's great that some of you are thinking about what to do for 2024, but what happens the next 2 weeks is it. Between now and the new Nevada results, the South Carolina results, and a few days later, Super Tuesday, the ability for us to see that window and to make a wave now is more critical than ever. And the way we can all make that wave is to be focused at the point of decision. This is get out the vote time. So we want to be visible any place where there's a polling location, and when some cases there are early voting locations, and yes, there are, we need to reach people in states where they're mailing in the ballots, and I'm actually in contact with the Yang Gang about strategies for that. So there's probably gonna be an online component to what happens within there is gonna be an online component to what happens within the next 2 weeks. But the one thing that all of us can do, wherever we are, is go look up where your precinct is, or get a list of the precincts in your city, in your state, get together with other gangs so we can get together within the next 2 weeks so that we can show up in as many precincts as we can in person on election day. Simple. It's ambitious, but I know from knowing all of you and knowing Yang Gang, we can do this. So it wasn't just the soccer, the person on the soccer team who said that. It turns out apparently Dr. Who has said that, but really that's the spirit where we are today. So, allons-y, allons-y.